Hey, everybody. Good evening to you. It's Phil Friedman here from Friedman Adventures, live from 22nd Street Landing in beautiful San Pedro, California. Coming up, the guys from The Pride. That's Michael Potvin and Shon Roberts. They're out there munching out on Chinese food and goofing around. But I thought since we are on the air a little bit early, we got KJ here from Mag12 Swimbaits. KJ, good to see you, my friend.
Hey, I really appreciate the opportunity to come down here and talk to you and be able to present my product. Looking forward to it, and I just want to say thank you.
Oh, come on, man. It's our pleasure, and I thank you very much for coming here. Your baits look awesome. I can't wait to fish them. And what we've got here is stuff that I imagine you can catch a bluefin on this, right? I mean, it looks like it's made for lingcod and that kind of thing, but I'll bet you could catch a tuna on that.
Well, I actually did on a 4-ounce one.
There you go.
Caught a 90-pound bluefin on the Tribute. You know, the crew said, come on, KJ, throw it out there. And the second drop got licked. I just haven't had a chance to really fish them much since then because I've been doing other things, but I definitely plan to get on a boat and hopefully get out there and have the opportunity to fish them again for some bluefin.
Excellent, excellent. That's good stuff. And then you have smaller baits. I mean, it looks like you can use this stuff for shallow water rockfish.
Well, you know, that's pretty much how I started off with was focusing on the rockfish because I never did find a tube out there that was long enough, like 12 inches, you know, that I could fish. Because once you catch a lingcod, you cut them open, you see these big bait fish that they've eaten. And I said, I need something bigger. So I came up with my own, and that's how it all started. And then I got just now started getting into the smaller stuff from 3/8 ounce on up. And I'm excited about it. I can't wait to get out there. I used them already a couple of times in calico bass and sand bass in the bay. And I think I'm going to go out there and start promoting this now, you know, just for the general public.
Well, you're in the right place to do that. And by the way, Steve can relate to that small tube situation.
Nice.
He's had trouble with that.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah,
all
definitely.
Right.
So,
well, we'll give him a big one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds good. Where can we find these baits?
Okay, they have them at Save On Tackle. They have them at Best Tackle in Hawthorne also.
Yeah.
They have them at Redondo Beach Sport Fishing. They have them at Long Beach Bird 55. They have them also down at Islands Tackle. They have them up at Ventura Sport Fishing. I don't know if they
you got them all over the
place.
place.
Yeah, they're out there. It's just me. I got to get around there and start stocking them up a little bit more and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so but, Ventura, that's I talked to him today, as a matter of fact. Shon.
Not
Tucker McCombs.
Tucker, yeah.
Tucker McCombs.
Yeah.
I talked to his wife, Brittany, actually, today.
Yeah.
And, he's a great guy, right?
No, they're a good landing. I mean, I've been fishing out of that landing for the longest when the Amigo actually was up there, ran by Steve.
Oh, right.
And, man, let me tell you something. We killed the lingcod on these baits. I mean, like 20-plus pounds. And I got photos of them. See, I keep photos of everything. So they work really good on all those islands.
I don't ever accuse a guest of lying. That's Steve's job. He does that.
No reason for me to embellish. You know, the product is what it is, and it works.
And can we see the product, or do we need to hold it up, Steve? Yeah, hold.
Well, this is how we started out right here.
And, yeah, why don't you go through the line that you have?
Yeah,
here?
exactly.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Okay.
Well, and there's the camera there.
Well, this is my 8-ounce right here. This is a typical one that I use. And what I like about this is that these are injection molded, 2 colors, so they blend in. They're not dipped or anything like that. And I had a special lead head made to where I have trailer assist hooks, 300-pound Kevlar, that I had made specially for these. So now what happens is that when the fish or the lingcod bites the jig, the trailer hooks are at the very end, so that you don't have to worry about short bites. And not only that, the jig will pop out of its mouth and it'll just be hooked by the hooks itself, so it doesn't tear up the bait. So that's what's really good about these right here. And then my friends were telling me I need to come up with a 6-inch version, and I came up with these new 6-inch versions right here. And the people that have seen them are so excited. This is a 1 ounce and a 1.5 ounce. They're so excited because they want to go fish the calico bass with these. You can fish shallow water rockfish, and they want to catch yellowtail and bluefin tuna with them also. Then I have my 2 ounce right here, in which I pair it up most of the time with my 8 ounce. I fish 2 at a time. So I have this version right here, and then you can also fish 2 at a time with these at 150 feet up to 300 feet if you want to go smaller. And then now I have my small tubes, and these are the 3/8 and the 5/8, and these are 4 inches long, and these are going to be for the spotties, the calicos, the halibut on the shore. And
I can surf fish with those.
Yeah, so, you know, I decided to come up with these. You know, people have asked me for the longest, hey, KJ, you know what? You need to start making those smaller ones. So I decided to jump into the game, and that's what I'm going to do right there. And this is my red crab color right here. And what you'll notice when you see these is that, like I said, the 2 colors blend in. And not only that, you'll see approximately half of the bait is like a double dip. So it makes it much more durable at the head, and then the tail is much lighter, so you get a little bit more movement. So, but that's pretty much it right there.
That's good stuff.
We have a question from one of the viewers.
Oh, great.
He's asking, is it possible to make plastics from recyclable plastic? Do you know anything about that?
Oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. You can either put it in a Pyrex, because that's heat treated, it's heat proof, and you can remelt it, but make sure you have to be careful because it's already been heated up one time. So you have to make sure you keep an eye on it so you don't scorch it or anything like that, because you're going to have to consistently stir it. Okay. If you happen to have some plastisol that you can buy fresh, mix a little bit of that in there, because that'll make it get to its point to where it's usable. When it gets to that one point of 350 degrees, it'll make it much easier to use at that point.
It's more workable.
It's more workable and stuff like that. Exactly.
All right, coming up at 7 o'clock, just a reminder, Shon Roberts, Michael Potvin from Pride Sportfishing at 22nd Street Landing. Hey, KJ, why don't you show the lingcod jig, the preferred lingcod jig. Talk about, how do you fish it? Do you get bit on the sink? When you hit the bottom, what do you do? How do you fish it?
Okay, so there's the way that I fish them. Typically, a boat will drift over the spot. They'll set up above the rock, and then they'll drift over it. Well, that's what I want. Mostly everybody's going to drift with the wind in their face, and their lines are scoping out away from them. I fish on the opposite side, either the stern or the bow, and I cast with the wind in my back as far as I could. So as the jig is sinking down, as soon as it hits the bottom, I'll put it in gear and I'll pull up on it, because a lot of times they've already hit it on the sink and you don't even know it. Or as it's sinking, you'll feel all of a sudden your line just go limp. And then once you know it goes limp, you put it in gear, you pull up, you have a fish. But if it doesn't hit it either on the drop or when you first hit the bottom, what you do, you just kind of just work it up and down, reel it up around 3 cranks, open the spool back up, let it drift down again, then put it back in gear, and just different multiple ways you can work it, fast or slow. But yeah, they work extremely well. And the way that I like to fish them is with a 3-way swivel, in which I fish 2 of them at a time. If you go to my Facebook page, KJ Mag Swimbaits, you'll see multiple pictures of me catching 2 lings at one time. It happens. I go up to San Francisco, and like they look at me like, I can't believe this guy.
Wow, that's great.
This guy's catching 2 lings at a time.
Yeah.
My friend Tony and I went up there. Between us, we had 14 ling caught a piece.
Wow.
I'm telling you, we did we did on the Black Pearl up north. We did the
they're out of Morro Bay.
They're out of Morro Bay. Lisa on the Black Pearl. We did the Western Outdoor News lingcod tournament. The first year matter of fact, I didn't even know the boat. I just jumped on it, and I can tell you right now, between Tony and I, we had over 20 lingcod a piece. We won the whole tournament, and we were literally hooking and handing to other people.
Wow,
it was
that's
just,
fantastic.
And that was pretty much the beginning of everything right there. When people start seeing these lingcods and reds, all these different types of fish being caught on my baits. I mean, there's nothing that will not bite them, I don't think.
That's awesome.
Those
smaller jigs when you're fishing spotties and that kind of stuff, how do you work those?
I fish those the same way with a 3-way swivel, and I go out there and I cast them close to structures, docks, and things like that, and work them back. I don't really fish this. I just started, and literally the second cast out, I caught me a nice sand bass in the harbor over at Long Beach. But I did fish these last summer on the Redondo Special over off the point at Rocky Point, and I was catching 2 calicos at a time, and then I was handing them out to some of the other fishermen, and I have plenty of photos. I'm like, wow, these things really work, So that's how I fish them too. Just throw them out there, let them sink, and then just jerk them in just a little bit, a little tap, and they're swimming back and forth like fish schooling.
Yeah.
So they really attract the fish. They get them excited. That's why a lot of times you'll get 2 fish biting at one time. Literally, they're fighting over that bait. And then on this jig right here, literally, there's been multiple occasions where these 2 hooks caught 2 fish at the same time.
That's excellent.
Literally, because they're both fighting for that bait. So it was a really good design I came up with. I'm extremely happy with it. It's strong. It's durable. You don't have to worry about having your tubes tear up and replacing your tubes. So the longevity is really good on it.
KJ, it's really a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. We're excited to work with you.
One last question before we head
please.
out. Mikey V is asking, what is your opinion on scented baits?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I have a scent. I'm going to be honest with you. It's called Mag12 Sex Lube Fish Scent, okay? I came up with it.
Don't get any ideas.
Yeah, don't get any ideas. And I want to tell you right now, when I went fishing up north, I knew it was going to work, and I said, I'm going to try this out on a sponge. Literally, I took a yellow sponge that I bought at the 99-cent store. I cut it in a little cube. I put it on a circle hook, and I put the scent on, 3 drops, 3 reds.
I love it.
Just like that. And I have it on video. I've done it multiple times. I've showed people. Last year, before the end of the year, the 3 trips we went on, all of the fish were caught on my baits with my baits in and the jackpot.
Wow.
So people
great.
know it works.
That's
I just
awesome.
need to have the time to make it because I'm a one-man show, and it's just hard to do everything and then run my limousine business at the same time. So, but I'm gonna try.
I need a limo back to Surfside tonight, by the way.
We'll put you in an Escalade.
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Hey, KJ, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Once again, if people want more info, where do they go? Do you have a website or a Facebook page?
Well, yeah,
or
you
what's
can go
best?
to mag12swimbaits.com, or you can email me at magnum at hotmail.com. Also, magnumswimbaits at hotmail.com, or mag12swimbaits.com, and you can get me there, or you can go to KJ Mag Swimbaits on Facebook. You guys can catch me there.
All right, we're going to switch now with the guys. They're going to come in. KJ, thanks so much.
appreciate it.
Shon Roberts and Michael Potvin, you guys can come in. Steve will want me to relinquish my phone. Alex, the intern, is back. Alex, look at the camera and say hello. All right, very good. And boys, come on in. While you guys are coming in, I'm going to do a few commercials here, and then we're going to get the men who have purchased the pride on the show with us. I want to thank Alex, move so I can read the sponsors. Thank you. I want to thank Daiwa, who's right behind me there. They are our official rod and reel sponsor. It's great to have them on board with us. Opsin Fluorocarbon. Remember, www.opsin.usa. Put FAN at checkout, and you'll get a special gift. CCA, making fishing possible for everyone here. Fish Taco Chronicle magazine. And 22nd Street Landing in beautiful San Pedro, California, where you will find the beautiful Janelle working behind the desk on a regular basis. You want to come in and say hi, Janelle? No. All right.
No way.
All right. She doesn't want to do that, and I don't blame her. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. She's got way too much class to be on this show. That's why we got these guys. Yeah. And you can subscribe to our channel, please, on Facebook. We've got some great charters. We'll be talking about our Pride charters. And Patreon, we'll have that at the end of the show. Steve, what are we giving away tonight?
Today we're going to be doing some Daiwa swag along with some ahi lures and another tackle bag, accessory bag, where you can store some of your fishing tackle for this fishing season.
And even though I don't want to do this, we'll give away one of the KJ baits also, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I really don't want to do it because I want to
Can't
fish
forget
with
about that, but yeah.
Well, I'm going to become a sponsor.
All right. He's going to become a sponsor.
Awesome.
So there we are.
So you guys have that to look forward to for the rest of this season 3 of Friedman Adventures.
All right. Thank you very much. And now it's time to welcome our guest tonight. I am so excited. I'm easily excited. So that's why I'm excited. Michael Potvin, Shon Roberts, you guys have just bought the Pride. Congratulations, number one, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Great to have you guys here. Let's start with Michael. Michael, maybe you could tell everybody the first time you and I met. When was that, and what were the circumstances?
I think it was back in, I want to say, like 2004.
Yeah.
I was working as a pinhead in Redondo on the city of Redondo as well as the Spitfire.
Yeah.
And I think you had came out with your sons for a 976 Tuna charter.
Yeah. Who was running the boat?
I believe at the time it was Craig Swaw.
Oh, okay, yeah. And you were just on the boat. You were a young kid. I posted the photo. You were so kind to send that to me.
You certainly posted.
Yeah. Well, it was awesome, man, because it's weird. I mean, I have a lot of people I'm so old now. Kids come up to me and say, man, I got into sport fishing because I was watching your videos or I met you or blah, 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 blah. You didn't actually say that. In fact, you thought about a career change after you met me.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I wanted to keep my hair.
Yeah, exactly. Shon Roberts, how did you get into sport fishing? Who got you into sport fishing in the first place?
I'd say my dad. We went fishing on a twilight boat, actually, on the Western Pride. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. And I caught jackpot sculpin. I wanted to keep all the money because I had no idea at that time. But I think pretty much from right then and there, just being on the water and just kind of the atmosphere.
You were hooked.
Yeah.
And most recently, you were on the Fortune, right?
Yeah,
you were running that boat?
Yeah, the last year I was running that boat for Bruce. He just recently sold it. It's like in September. So as soon as he sold it, I kind of was just filling in here and there, trying to figure out what I was going to do, and this just kind of landed in our laps for layman's terms.
So what do you mean it landed in your laps, Michael? You know what? It's funny because you were the galley cook on the Amigo trip, I think, right? You were yeah. And in fact, there was a kid, Jonathan Morales, who caught that first bluefin, and you were helping him. You're in the video helping him, so I immediately knew that you were a good person because you're helping this kid. But you were whispering to maybe Jeff or somebody, yeah, I want to talk to you about this boat. And I'm like, hey, what are you talking about? You're like, never mind, you know. So now I, in retrospect, I know what you were talking about. Yeah. Did it just become available and you guys thought, hey, this looks like a really good deal, let's do this? Because this is a big decision.
Well, over time from working on different boats here and there and knowing Shon as long as I did, the opportunity basically just arose. And after talking to him for a little bit, talking about it, we kind of just put 2 and 2 together, and it seemed like the right decision to make.
And
so
are you
jumped on it?
Are you excited about it, Shon? I mean,
oh yeah, we wish we had a trip tonight. We're definitely ready to go. The boat's ready to go. We're just finishing up a couple little cleanup deals and things like that. And yeah, I think that boat's going to be a killer fit for up here. I know it used to be up here when it was the Orion quite a few years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I just the boat's quiet, insanely quiet. It gets bit. I think it's going to be a very excellent boat.
When you talk about quiet, you're talking a lot about white sea bass because that's super important, being stealth when you're fishing sea bass. We all know they've got, well, maybe we don't, but they have the lateral lines. They're very sensitive. You know, it's a good idea sometimes to hand over hand the anchor when you drop it when you're fishing sea bass.
Yeah.
So that's important, right?
It helps out a lot in that shallow, that skinny water deal, like fishing beaches, fishing, kelp with like hard bottom, like 20, 30, 50 feet of water. In the bait grounds, not so much. It doesn't really matter as much. You can just throw it out there for the most part. But when you're fishing that first wave of fish that comes up and gets on the beaches and they start spawning, that sound is definitely key.
Yeah, definitely. What kind of season are we going to have? I want you to, you probably can't rival me on predictions. I'm really good.
We're going to have thousands of albacore.
So, thank you, Shon. Thank you. Yes. I'll never live that down, Steve. Ever. What kind of season? What are you seeing now that tells you what kind of season we're going to have? I know there's a lot of squid around, so any guesses?
I feel like with the last couple years and as phenomenal as the fishing's actually been, I think it could be one of the best years that we've had, and I actually think it might even be better than the last couple.
And
so
you're
very optimistic
about everything, like
about
sea bass, bluefin, blah blah blah.
I don't see the bluefin going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, right?
Shon knows a lot about white sea bass, and it's definitely looking like it's going to be a good year for that. But with all the places we can fish, I think we're going to have a very good variety of the yellowtail, the bass, rockfish during rockfish season, and there's always going to be fish to catch.
That sounds good, Michael. Are you?
We got one quick question from Roger. He's asking, will there be any open party overnight trips on the Pride this season?
Yes, there will. It's going to all be based on if the Freedom's full, or we have a ton of charter dates already in the books. But if we have an open date and the Freedom's full or whatnot, then yeah, we will definitely throw in.
Awesome.
And we've got 3 charter dates on there that we'll talk about in detail in a little bit, and I'll ask the guys what they think is going to be biting. There we go. Thank you, Steve. Dr. Seabass, he said you know a lot about Seabass. Dr. White Seabass. Dr. WSB.
I don't think I'd want to be classified as Dr. Seabass, but I mean, it's...
what are you thinking? Is it looking like
I'm by no means any kind of expert, but that
makes two of us.
Yeah. I would just say from what I know, they follow bait. And the last few years, down here, 2-3 years ago, had excellent sea bass fishing at San Nicolas.
Yeah.
Last year, there wasn't any squid. So when that fish comes up the coast, it branches out between the islands. If there's no squid to hold it, it's not going to stay.
Yeah.
With what's going on this winter with squid, I mean, it's all hearsay, but I mean, it's looking like it could be a good sea bass year. Catalina, I know there's already fish being caught at Catalina. There's already fish being caught at SBI. No one knows at San Nicolas. No one's really running out there with no codfish to fall back on, but it's looking like it could be like it used to be 4, 5, 6 years ago before all this really warm water moved in and kind of killed off a lot of the kelp, and squid didn't come in as much as it would. But
it's been a while since we've had a bite at cat. It would be great to see that back on the chew again.
If this water just stays in this 60 to 65 range for our springtime, then I think we could definitely see one.
Yeah, you start to see sea bass bite when that water gets to like 63, right? And then
62, 63 with bait.
Yeah.
But if it starts getting 65, 66, 67,
then they really want to
when those fish first move in, that's why the last couple of years has been phenomenal Channel Islands fishing, because the water's been so warm down here, they just kind of bypass the majority of them. I mean, there's fish that stay, but this has been phenomenal fishing up there, catching them in the dark on a surface iron. That's just unheard of. It's just the mass has gone up there. It just has kind of switched.
Yeah,
but if we get that temperature and it stays within those ranges, I think it could definitely be for sure.
Michael, it sounds like it's about the bait and the water temp. Is that it?
Primarily.
Yeah.
And a little bit of luck.
Yeah, that's true too, because sea bass are frickin' like they'll drive you nuts. What about moon phase on sea bass? Is that important?
It definitely has an effect, just like tide swings.
Yeah.
You just got to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I know. I mean, as long as I've been in this business, like you get into a wide open bite on the full moon and people go, it's a freaking full moon, man, I'll tell you. You get into a wide open bite on the dark and they're like, I tell you, man, it's the...
The thing with that moon is, from one thing that I've seen over the years, the thing that it really holds, it controls big tide swings, and it controls able to make bait. Bait is typically a lot harder to make. It kind of spreads out when it's full moon. It's spread out more.
Right.
When there's no moon, when there's no light, that bait concentrates, and then the fish concentrates on it.
Yes.
And then there's smaller tide swings. I just think, when you have that full moon, that's kind of why that people say full moon, because if there's big tide swings, you'll go -1 to 7 feet, or it's just, and then the bait just kind of spreads out. But that's why it's like, I've always seen like before and after. When you're right on it or right near it, it's typically, that's when your slower days are. I mean, there's been phenomenal days on the dead full moon, but kind of before and after, as far as making bait and fish, and a little bit less of a tide.
Yeah. So you would tell people, if they want to charter the boat, would you tell them to edge toward the dark of the moon? I'd say, and it's a crapshoot,
it's
really,
a crapshoot,
but you can still make some.
Yeah, like I'd say, a few days before and a few days after.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What do you think about the bluefin? We've talked briefly about it, but I mean, who was out there on Tanner Bank recently?
I heard the condor was,
with limits.
That's what I heard.
Or a good shot.
I mean, I don't
what
have
the hell?
actual info.
I mean, that water temp out there is what, Michael?
Is it like 60 degrees?
And that fish is still biting. That's
and
amazing.
There's a lot of big bonita moved in there too.
Yeah. Well, does that say anything? Does that tell you anything, or?
It just says that we have a healthy ocean.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the main thing. Like a lot of people, there's not enough of this and there's not enough of that. When you have bluefin, 60-degree water, squid everywhere, big bonita, that just tells me we have a healthy ocean.
Yeah, I know, because you hear all this environmental stuff about the ocean's not healthy and it's being overfished, and then you look at our ecosystem and it's in really good shape.
Yeah, you see,
right?
Yeah, you like when that like yellowtail first starts coming up the coast the last few years, there's just been, when I was working down on the San Diego 6-7 years ago, just the amount of fish that is down there when it comes up, it's a healthy ocean.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't catch even 0.5% of what's actually coming up and moving up.
Yeah. So you can see our charters on Facebook at Friedman Adventures. I'm going to start with our first trip and ask you guys what we're going to be catching.
I do have one question coming in from Scott Grant. He wants to know more about the boat. Tell us about the galleys, the bunk, the galley, the bunks, and the tackle that you guys
Scott, you're reading my mind. I was going to ask that next. Thank you. Great question. Go ahead, boys.
We can take 18 people. We have 18 bunks for passengers. We kind of recommend keeping it to 12 to 16, just for a little bit more comfortable. But the boat can easily fish and handle 18. The galley, we can sit 12. And the boat's it's a 50-foot custom boat out of Ventura. It's pretty much a mini Seaway. It's a mini Endeavor, mini Aztec. The boat's extremely wide, a ton of room on the back deck. low bait tanks, easy to get the bait. You're not up here chasing it around, soaking your shirt.
Yeah.
It's got a big bow for throwing jigs in the early springtime yellowtail. It's just a great overall. It's an excellent fishing platform.
Yeah, it's sitting right here at 22nd Street. Anybody, if you're in the area, you want to come down and check it out, you're more than welcome to come down and check it out. But it just looks so fishy to me, Michael. I mean, it looks like the kind of boat that's just going to get bit.
Very nice platform.
Yeah. And you guys have mentioned we're going to go with 14 on our trip. Yeah, we're going with 14, and then I show up to film. We're going to shoot 3 videos with you guys this year. But you mentioned, like, so we have meals included. You're going to do the meals up pretty good, right?
Definitely.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you envisioned.
Gordon Ramsay, right here.
You really? Yeah,
I mean,
well, he cooked on the Amigo.
He'll at least scream at you like Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, I don't want that, man. Will you go easy on me, please?
Certainly.
Remember, I'm your elder.
But you're going to get plenty of calories, and you're going to eat well.
Well, I mean, on the Amigo when you cooked, it was incredible. And you were putting, it was kind of like almost like a long-range trip with the snacks out there and everything else. So you're going to be doing that kind of thing?
Most likely.
Yeah, great. That sounds good. So 14.
Be a surprise.
Yeah. We're going with 14 people. And our first trip is July the 5th, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, I'm thinking that's perfect time for white sea bass.
Limits of albacore and limits of white sea bass. No,
sign up tonight!
I think at that time of the year, during the week, a little bit after the limit goes to 3,
right.
If San Nick bites and SBI bites, I think it's definitely a very good chance at some point during the trip you'll be fishing sea bass. And then if the yellowtail moves up the coast and it's biting out at Clemente or any of the islands, we can be doing that. You could be starting on the bank, catching yellows and bluefin, and then end up on your second day fishing Catalina for sea bass.
That's so cool.
It's just, I think that this year is going to be, it's knock on wood, but it's lining up to where that if you're on like a 2 or a 2.5 day trip, that you're just going to have so many options to do. You could be fishing the banks, and then you could be fishing Catalina the next day.
Exactly why I do 2-day trips, and yeah. I think for you guys as captains, you can like breathe a little bit, because a 1-day trip, man, I mean, that's tough sometimes, to make that happen.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. You guys are great fishermen and everything, but with 2 days, you get some rain. So if they're biting up there at Nicholas, we can go. No problem.
Yeah.
If, there's a bluefin bite out on Tanner, we can go there the first day, like you said, and then drop back and fish Santa Barbara or
San Nicholas the second day for sea bass.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a
how
lot
cool is that?
That's one of the main reasons why we brought the boat up here. It's just a lot more. It's not just the Coronados, and it's not just Mexican waters. We're closer to the banks. We're closer to the San Clemente bluefin. We have 7 different islands that we can get to and fish. There's just much more options.
And when you look at it, not to put the San Diego boys down, but
definitely not.
They're fishing. We're Tanner all the time. I mean, a lot. So that's where we're fishing, right?
Yeah,
we're closer.
Yeah, right.
So it's. I mean,
that's a brutal course to Tanner on out of Dago too,
it's
isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. It's right into it and right basically on your corner coming home.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, we'll see. I mean, next year could be, or this year could be something completely different. There could be good yellowfin fishing down the beach, and hopefully, honestly, hopefully it is. It'll keep boats spread out. I'm sure there'll be plenty of fish up here at the same time.
That would be nice if that was going on. I think Steve's got a question.
Yeah, Terry's asking, will you need a passport for the July 5th trip?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. No, we're not going to be crossing into Mexican waters, Terry. We're going to be either going north or out to Tanner Bank or Santa Barbara Island. So definitely not. We won't need that. And on none of the trips you guys run, you need a passport, do you?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because you're going to be offshore if you're going down.
Yeah. Even if we go offshore down by like the border corner or something like that, it's
you're
away
12
from
miles
the
away from the coast.
Yep.
And so you're good. How much bait do you guys hold? Do you hold plenty of bait?
We hold plenty of bait. We hold 50 to 60 swings per tank, and then we also have a slammer that holds another 20 to 30 swings.
Oh, great. So you've got a slammer, and you keep the fish nice and fresh that way?
We have an excellent fish hold. We have a excellent slammer. We have 2 great big bait tanks that are very well designed. The bait lives excellent in them. It's a San Diego charter boat, but we're bringing it up here, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of, we have a lot, like when this squid fishing, we can hold probably 70 to 100 scoops of squid when we can make it.
Plenty, right?
Plenty.
Yeah, and plus you fill a trash can with Fresh Dead,
Exactly.
and you're done, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. What do you think about the difference between fishing with live squid and Fresh Dead for sea bass? Is it equal? Is one better than the other?
For sea bass,
Yeah. Do you have an opinion about
I
that?
like Fresh Dead more.
I think
I do too.
just dead.
Yeah, right? Why?
Well, when the sea bass come through, they're generally eating the squid that has just spawned,
And they're
and
dead.
it's usually dead.
Yeah.
They're just scooping it up off the bottom. So if when they swim through and there's just an easy bait right there for them to grab it, I think they're going to go for the easy bait than the one that they got to chase.
What's your favorite rig for fishing sea bass? Is it a dropper loop? What is it, Michael?
A dropper loop spider hitch with like a 7 to 12 inch leader with the hook, probably about maybe 5 feet from the sinker, and a heavy line, like 40, 50 pound.
Right on. I like that too. And if there's somebody out there listening, they're kind of novice anglers, and they're like, "What? I don't get that."
It's
You
basically
guys are going to take care of them, right?
It's a dropper loop knot, but instead of you're not pulling away from it of each other when you actually have a fish hooked, it's actually pulling it just like a long tag in.
Yeah.
It's not gonna break.
But yes, Steve.
No, I was just
Oh.
going to say. So I know you guys have all the right gear on the boat for those that don't
Yeah.
have it with them. But what would you recommend to someone that's going to be going out with you early this season? That gear that they should have for targeting those sea bass.
I'd say if you fish rods with like just basically a yo-yo jig rod. Say if you have a yo-yo jig rod, a 7-foot, 7-8 foot rod, 25 to 50 pound rod, a little bit of a faster rod, a little bit more of a bend, faster rod, just because those things like to shake their head. You don't want a super stout rod. Sometimes you'll pull a hook, but just a 30 to 50 pound rod for your dropper loop, and then you definitely want to have a rod like say a 25 to 30 pound rod, like an 8 foot, a little bit lighter, something that you could fish like a 1/2 ounce slider or a 1/4 ounce lead head, something like that. If the fish are up in the water column, or if we're fishing on like a beach at like Catalina, the fish is going to be suspended. It's not going to be directly on the bottom, and you can fish all that stuff at night as well. And we'll also, they rent excellent gear up here at 22nd Street, but we're going to have a little arsenal of rods on the boat.
Oh, you are?
And just in case that we see and we're like, you don't have the right stuff, we're going to have 4 or 5 rods of everything: a drop loop rod, a lead head rod, whatever. We're going to have 2 or 3 surface iron rods. If you see us catching a fish on a surface iron, you're like, I don't have that. Well, we're going to have it there.
And they rent it, or you guys?
We're just going to let them use it.
Oh, that's really
so
cool.
That's
really
just so
awesome.
that we absolutely know that you have the right gear.
That's awesome.
It's not about we're going to get $10-12 off you. We just know that if you have the right gear, you're going to have a better chance at catching fish, and then you're going to want to come back on the boat. And it's just, I just think
experience.
It's just the thing to do. So we're going to have gear on the boat. We're going to have multiple kite rods and reels for when that stuff starts happening. So we get bit. We're going to have 4 or 5 different setups. So we get bit, get it in, get another bait out quick. So on the same stop, we can hook 4, 5, 6, 7 fish.
That is awesome.
Not just one and fight it and let everyone watch them.
Yeah.
We're going to try to hook 7, 8, 10 fish so everyone's fighting one.
That's awesome. I love it.
When the opportunity arises, we want to be able to capitalize.
Yeah. This suggests to me that if somebody out there that is listening, they've been catching sand bass and, maybe they've caught a barracuda, and they're thinking, well, I don't know if I can do this sea bass thing. I've seen this guy already, and I know your reputation, but I watched him take this kid, Jonathan Morales, and catch a giant 40, 50-pound bluefin for a kid who's really never been fishing, and I watched how that all unfolded. This suggests to me that you've got the rods to help people, that you're going to be very friendly with new anglers,
exactly.
Right?
We're going to be... that's one of the biggest parts of a charter business. It's not just bringing out the masses. It's bringing out the groups that are all friends together. They all know each other. And say if they have a couple kids, we're going to have the gear in case that they don't have it with them. And our crew's going to be hands-on helping people. We're not, if we see you kind of struggling, we'll kind of teach you up. And then if you just absolutely can't do it, then we'll kind of help you out a little bit more. But we want them to be able to catch the fish. Like, we're going to show you and tell you how to do it. We're not going to be in your ear rushing you like, we want that fish. Like, obviously we want to catch it, but ultimately it's the passengers that are coming on the boat. That's the people that want to have the experience. It's not just me telling you or me grabbing the rod and fighting the fish. Like, we're not, it's not like that, but
guidance.
It's just guidance, words, the proper gear. If we see you struggling with your gear, and I think that'll go a long way.
Absolutely. Michael, I remember telling you, hey, this kid, Jonathan, I really want him to get a fish. You were all over it, man.
He got it.
He did, man.
He was certainly proud.
That was exciting, wasn't
I
it?
think he's young enough that fish alone is probably going to be a memory for the rest of his life.
Well, yeah, because I see him on our YouTube channel all the time leaving comments, and he goes back and watches that video.
And that's the
again.
future.
Yeah. That kid is hooked forever. And his father, Carlos Morales, great guy. You remember Horacio on that trip?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Was that brutal or
The
what?
amigos.
Huh?
I said the amigos.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but he had that fish that looked like a decent, like, maybe 100-pound fish. And then he ended up dropping his rod over.
Yeah.
Oh, it was heartbreak, Shon. The guy was just one of these guys that was the nicest freaking guy in the world.
Yeah.
Awesome guy.
Yeah.
And he was on this fish for an hour, around the boat, and it came up way out there and shined on the surface like kind of those bigger ones do
They like
sometimes.
to plane up on the surface.
Yeah. And I'm going like, Horacio, you got a grande pescado, man. It's a big one. And, oh, my God. He went to pass the rod because it went under the anchor, and he let go of it.
It happens.
Oh, man, it was just brutal to see that happen. So, once again, kids, anybody who's a novice, they shouldn't be afraid. In fact, if you had a group of people that wanted to come out and give this a try, I'm sure you'd take care of them.
We take that more than the fishing club.
Yeah.
Because that we know that we can show them how to do it the correct way, and they're always the most willing to learn.
Absolutely.
Like, if I can tell you how to do something because of the years that I've seen it, and then he can show something, and then my other deckhand can show him something, that kid can walk away from that trip with, like, going on the next trip and actually know how to properly do it the next time.
Yeah.
Not just being screamed at and then, grab their rod. Like, they can actually do it the next trip, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, I know. You guys are a little different than many of the most successful charter boats have the attitude that you have. But there is still a few of the dinosaurs around that, like, when they don't catch fish, they're like, yeah, my freaking group sucks. And I always think to myself, you should be teaching them.
Yeah.
You should be showing them, like, the attitude that you two guys have.
It's still going to happen. I mean, there's going to be times where we lose our first 10 yellows, and I'm just like, pulling my hair out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It is what
like
it
you
is.
have anglers like Alex on
Just
there,
do it
right?
up in the wheelhouse and then walk down and then try to get all on the same page. It's going to happen. It's going to happen every year. You're going to hook 10 or 11 big giant bluefin. You're going to lose every single one before people get on the right page. And then you're going to have groups that are just ready to go. Like, we have groups that are going to be completely novice, and then we have groups that are just straight killers that I've known for a really long time.
Right.
So we got kind of a mix.
Yeah. In terms of our trips, we bring together a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But my goal is, like, by the time we're fishing that next morning, we're a family.
Exactly.
So my whole thing is walking around, trying to ascertain who's okay, they got it, they know what they're doing, who's not okay, letting you guys in on it, and trying to make it a real festive, fun time, as opposed to, like, some, like, captain screaming at you and stuff. That's no fun.
We're going to start every trip too. I mean, all boats do it, a safety speech and what we're going to be doing fishing wise, but we're going to do, before we even leave the dock, it's going to get everyone in the back of the boat. We're all going to talk. I'm going to tell you where is the safety equipment. We're going to tell you what we're going to be doing fishing wise, and we're going to go over each setup on what we're going to be fit fishing. And if you have any kind of questions, as soon as the boat ties off away from the dock, me, the second, the deckhand, whoever, they're going to walk around, and they're literally not just saying it. Like, we're going to make sure everyone's right drags, right knots, right everything. Because when you have everything right before you go in to battle with the fish, you're just ahead of the game.
Yes,
and
definitely.
it's just better. So there's gonna be very detailed, one-on-one. That's why I like this whole, like, light load charter boat, because it's more personal. Like, we can make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, light load is so great, and I like myself. I don't know if you guys think it makes a difference or not, but I like chartering during the week because the lighter boat pressure, right?
I think everybody does. I think everybody does. I just don't think everyone
can't do it. Yeah, because
just the way it is.
People work.
You can go fishing on the weekend. That's when you go. But of course, lighter loads, not as many skiffs, typically better weather.
Yeah.
Kind of weird how that works. Weather on the weekends are almost always worse.
The weather gods they know it's the weekend, right?
It's kind of crazy how that works, but.
So then our next trips, we'll just combine these two together. We have a trip in September and a trip in October. I love the fall in Southern California. I think it's weather's your best weather, and there's some awesome fishing. What kind of stuff can we look forward to, Michael, in the fall?
If it's anything like this last year we had, you're still going to have a shot at bluefin, maybe some yellowtail at the islands, and you can always fill the bags with big rockfish.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that's begging to catch rockfish. I love catching that stuff.
Oh,
I remember
awesome.
coming up on I think it was a 5-day trip on the Polaris Supreme. Tommy Rothery was running the boat, and I'm going, come on, Riddler, seriously, let's put some color in the hole. No, I'm not fishing rock. I'm not doing it. And I go, please, come on. So he's like, Phil really wants me to fish, so we're going to do it. Bitching, man, catching all these cool fish and everything. And the bite here, when you get to Nick and you get to, out on the bank, God,
what's
awesome.
What's really cool is, I mean, this part's not cool with them making it 1 chucklehead and 4 reds. But what's really cool about down here is that a lot of the areas where we fish, we can fish 20, 30, 40 feet of water.
Right.
And you're catching big, giant Johnny bass, big sugar bass, big starry eyes. You catch a chucklehead, and you already have a limit of, you can throw them right back. They're going to live just fine. You can do a couple deep drifts, catch your reds and your 1 chucklehead. And then you can go in shallow and you can catch big giant whitefish, have a shot at a sea bass, catching. There's a lot of kelp around San Nicolas that had numerous times where you're catching wide open whitefish, and then you hook 5 sea bass, and then you hook a halibut, and then you hook a bunch of sheephead, which I know that's like a bad word to say now because they're trying to take that away. But there's just so much that you can do at a place like that, And if you are catching chuckleheads, you can let them go once you're at your limit, but you're still going to have a giant bag of fillets with big Johnny bass, which are excellent to eat. Your reds and your big starry eyes and things like that.
Michael, I think people get it in their head that, rock cod, it's just boring and you just, you're winding up this heavy weight. But when you're fishing that shallow water, it's like fishing bass or fishing anything
just like
else.
Fishing calicos.
It's exactly like that. Fish pull, drag, right?
More than bass.
Yeah,
You hook a 10-pound cabezon in a rock with a bunch of kelp.
Yeah, or a 4 or 5 pound whitefish.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something that we can do, and like that time of the year, it's the same thing. We could start at the banks, fishing bluefin, yellowtail, slide up into a little bit deeper water, catch your reds, and then we could start at San Clemente the next day. We could anchor up at night on a rock, catching big calico bass at night. With a boat like that we have, we can get really tight, and that's another thing. We have a good amount of groups that just really love catching like calico bass.
Yeah.
And as long as there's a good amount of bait, like there has been, there's going to be, that's an excellent forecast on those things too. I mean, we have a lot of groups that they literally just go out there and just catch and release bass. Like they'll go out there and catch 200-300 bass, let them all go, and they're beyond stoked.
Yeah, heck yeah. I release them all the time, right?
So
in
that's
my
fun
frying
too.
pan.
Yep.
Yeah, they're delicious.
Yeah. They are good actually, but
they are actually.
Yeah. Yep.
So on that fall trip, and I know as we get closer, you guys will be able to answer this question with more specificity. But for right now, how many rods and reels do you need to bring, and what do you need to bring for that fall trip? If you were to just tell people right now,
I'd say you want an 80 to 100 pound rail rod for a jig at night.
Yeah.
I'd say you'd want a 40 to 50 pound reel to fly line a bait on, or you could actually use that to fly line a bait, yo-yo jig, or a dropper loop. You're going to want like a 30 pound rod for a fly line bait, and then a rod to fish like 20 pounds. Sometimes that tuna on the anchor can get a little finicky. You hook them on like 20 pound if they're 15, 25 pound fish, easily doable on 20. But yeah, I just say a 20, a 30, a yo-yo rod, and then a rod to fish a great big jig at night.
How brutal is it for you guys? Because we have this nighttime bite on the bluefin now. That's got to be rough on the crew, right?
It's awesome.
Well, go ahead. What do you mean?
I
mean, aren't you tired? Don't you need to sleep at some point?
I mean, you're tired till you stop the boat on a screen filler and you hook 1,700 pounders. Then
wow,
that's just. I mean,
You're wide awake.
When you have the opportunity for that, you can really. I mean, we get nap rotations. It's not like we're not sleeping.
Yeah.
But it's just like to be able to have an opportunity on that on a day and a half boat from San Pedro.
How unbelievable
you
is
could
that?
You could literally have been fishing calico bass one day, and then go off to the bank and then hook 20 100-pounders at night.
How unbelievable is that?
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Steve?
Jeff has a quick question in regards to SBI Island. So he's saying that he hasn't heard much from SBI in the last few years. Is that due to regulations on closures, or do you have any info on that?
Kind of funny. That's just when it bites, we just don't talk about it. Oh. It's one of those islands. It's so small. It's so small that, and you know, skiff traffic can get there. It's not that far. So when there's a bite going on, we typically just don't say anything about it. You know, last year it didn't bite as well for the sea bass. There was a little bit of a yellowtail bite that kind of went for a little bit, but there was a 3 or 4 day window where there was 4 or 5 sport boats in there, and it was just absolutely full speed 30 to 40 pound sea bass. It's, you know, this year could be different, could be none, could be better, but I mean, it's one of those places where you just don't hear about because we just don't talk about it. It's
funny you say that because a friend of mine...
That's the absolute truth.
A friend of mine just told me that he had some pretty good halibut fishing recently.
And that was at Nick.
And he couldn't tell me where.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, you got to keep a lid on it sometimes, right?
You got to try to if you can get 2 days on it, you're happy.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah.
And Jeff Yeomans, by the way, who asked that question, he's got several trips with you this year. The guy from 540 Slingers.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever personally met him, but
he's a great guy.
He seems like a really guy. I know he charters Jeff a lot. He's got a 1-day trip in July, I believe, and then he's got a 2-day in November.
Yeah, and if you can't fish with us, I highly recommend you fish with Jeff. He's super, super good guy, a veteran. So
yeah,
I always thank him for his service, and he's a great guy. And it seemed like last year I was getting in when he was going out, or vice versa, and
just
so we'd always chat.
So many trips, yeah. It's one thing that you're mentioning about the whole veteran deal. I'd like to plug in really quick.
Yeah, please.
There's a guy. He runs a charter business called Joe Charters.
I just talked to him.
Okay, so we're one of us is going to be. He's doing that whole Veterans Challenge thing
in San Diego.
In San Diego,
March 25th.
Full days.
Battle of the Branches.
Yeah, so me or Mike or both of us will be on the boats down there helping out.
Oh, cool.
My brother was a veteran. My dad was a veteran. So
nice.
I kind of wanted to plug it in a little bit, and we're actually going to be. I believe it's March or February 20th, I believe, on a Sunday. Excuse me, I forgot the name of the brewery, but I'm sure you guys can find it out all online through his page. But they're having a raffle and all that, and we're actually we're giving up a full day trip during the week for the raffle.
Nice.
And we're also going to be trying to work with a couple of the local veterans groups up here to do weekday, 3/4 days, or whatever we can fit in our gaps.
Yeah, I think that's great because
I
mean,
kids and veterans just to kind of get just to keep everything going, and it's just a fun thing to do.
Yeah, and plus veterans are so important to why we get to go fishing.
Yeah.
Without their sacrifices,
and not much credit.
No credit at all sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, we've done a lot of stuff with veterans too, and I've made some friends. Joe Patino, might be listening. He's in the South now. He just moved down that way, and many other guys. I have so much deep and abiding respect from them. And some of those guys come back, and you can see they're a little off. And you think to yourself, whatever it is I'm going through just pales in significance to what those guys have in swirling around.
Yeah, so just be on the lookout. If not this year, for sure by next year, we'll have it on our website and our Instagram and Facebook, so like social media. But we'll be doing some veteran sponsored trips, and I hopefully this year, but for sure by next year.
That's excellent. And Joe, I'm trying to shake loose. I have something going on March 25th, but I talked to him today. Was it today? I think it was his birthday today or yesterday.
I saw a Joe Charter came up on Facebook. I just figured that was the birth date of the actual.
No, it's him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he went to a casino and said, I'm going to gamble all day long. And I said, well, I hope you kill it.
Yeah. Dino Ricchetti is saying it's BNS Brewery in Santee, California.
That's right, Dino. Thank you.
That is it. Thank you.
And Dino is all over our YouTube channel, always leaving comments. Dino, I deeply appreciate it. That is awesome. Steve, something else? Nope. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that you guys are going to get involved in the community. You say kids, too? You like fishing with kids, or you think that's the future, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not one of these guys that's like
freaking kids.
That's who's going to be hopefully buying our boat in 15 years.
Right.
We want them to grow up.
15? That's all you're going to go?
Yeah, maybe.
How old are you?
Maybe 10. I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's most important for the kids in a way because especially now, a lot of kids haven't even ever been on the ocean. So just for the chance to them even get out there and see wildlife, even if it's a dolphin, is for some kids everything.
They get to see what our state's trying to take away.
I know.
And if you can have them grow up knowing that they love it, and it's something that's not as bad like the big bad wolf that our state is saying, then that's more people on our side to keep it going.
God, I mean,
There's hope.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, these environmentalists now want to close it down, and so nobody can participate in it. But if you go back to Teddy Roosevelt, when he started all these national parks, his idea was to conserve areas for man's benefit, so man could go out and hunt, and man could go out and fish, and man could enjoy the benefits of being in nature, as opposed to, let's just close it and then nobody gets the benefit.
Yeah.
And that is highly regressive. It hurts the little guy.
It hurts.
That's who it hurts.
It helps the pocketbooks of the people trying to take it away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really all it ends up. I mean, that's the cold hard truth about it. But yeah,
unfortunately, it's like everything else nowadays. Without getting too political or anything, it's like stoking fear about, the fish are going to be extinct, or stoking fear and then saying we can fix it by blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and it's just it's
that's all it is.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
With no scientific evidence.
Right, no evidence, no data.
Their research on the whole chucklehead data was on a half day boat. Like, you got to be kidding me.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, yeah, the chuckleheads probably aren't that great when you're fishing 60 feet of water for swimming, But I mean, it's just what it is.
Well, on a lesser note, I mean, it sounds like they're going to do a restriction now on grunion, and my understanding is that was based on one woman who had a grunion website or YouTube channel who said, "Boy, I didn't see that much grunion this year."
She's probably an expert.
Yeah, exactly, and that was it. That's the data.
Yep.
So I don't get that whole thing, and unfortunately,
they're just looking for one thing to go there to kind of back what they want to do, and that they don't really. I don't think they look too much into it. It's just that's gonna help me. So
think about it. We're gonna have more kids staring at their phones as opposed to going out and seeing dolphin or going out and catching a fish. Like this Jonathan Morales, I truly believe that catching that fish changed the trajectory of his life. I don't know if he's going to become a marine biologist. I don't know if he's going to be an avid fisherman. I don't know if he's going to take his kids out into nature now. I'm sure he is when he grows up. But it's so healthy. I mean, there is a disorder called nature deficit disorder. Mm-hmm. And everybody, I mean, we've had COVID, so everybody was suffering from it for a while. But just this whole attitude of shutting down the pristine, beautiful beaches and areas that we have to fish.
It's only a few parts of this country, though. There's so many other states in this country that are just, they want you to fish.
We are going a little political now.
It's just, I mean, they just Tina when you need them.
Yeah, really.
they want you to fish. They everywhere that you see, it's fishing, hunting, everywhere.
Oh, right.
Over here, it's
Florida.
Here's money.
Florida, right?
You want some money? It's like, take away this. That's just it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So we just got to work our way around it and just kind of deal with it and
adapt and evolve.
Hopefully, cycles switch and we get back towards where we used to be 20 years ago.
Yeah. Right. Hopefully that's going to happen. Michael, why don't you go through your history in sport fishing a little bit? Where did you start? What boats have you been on? I'd like to learn a little bit more about you.
Well, it all originally started when I was, I want to say probably like 12 years old, and I got my first rod, and I actually took the bus with the bucket to the Hermosa Beach Pier.
Oh, wow.
And spent all the days there during the summer catching bonita with crocodile jigs.
Wow.
And it was pretty funny, actually, because afterwards I would leave, and I would get back on the bus to go back to my house in North Redondo.
Were you bringing the bonita with
the
you?
bucket of bonita. And
the bus driver saying
I would get a lot of weird looks, but it didn't matter. It's what I wanted to do. And then I decided I was going to go on a boat. So I went down there with my bucket and my pole, and I bought a ticket, and I started doing that a couple times a week, mostly on the weekends. And one thing led to another, and I ended up becoming a pinhead. And I got to fish and then clean the boat, and from there it kind of just went on to working deck.
And what boats have you worked on?
The City of Redondo, the Redondo Special, then on the Spitfire.
Who was running the City and the Redondo Special when you were on?
It was Eric.
Uh-huh.
And then I don't remember who was on the actual City of Redondo at the time. It was too long ago.
Yeah.
And then
That boat is now down in Puerto Vallarta or something, I
I
understand.
believe it's in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then from there, I kind of branched out and I actually started doing jacuzzis and swimming pools quite a bit.
Cool.
And then
You were putting fish in them to fish, or no?
I wish.
Yeah, really.
It would have made doing it a lot more pleasant if I was fishing in the pools.
Exactly.
But then I just started itching again for wanting to be on the boat. So I branched out. I would fill in here and there on different boats in San Diego. I spent a season working on the Vagabond for Mike Lackey.
Oh, you did?
It was very, very cool. I got to learn a lot from him.
Yeah, Mike's a good fisherman, right?
Especially for bluefin. He's a really good kite fisherman.
Does he still... no, Mike does not have the biggest yellowfin tuna, right? It's the XL.
No, the XL though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I interviewed him on the way in on that trip. It was Justin
that
Fleck.
was, that was his, I'm pretty sure that was his first fish ever too.
Yeah, it was like 440,
Yeah,
wasn't it, or
a
something like
big one.
that?
It's a heck of a first one.
Yeah. So you enjoyed fishing with Mike?
I did.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure. And then
What kind of a guy is he, customer service wise?
excellent.
Yeah. Right.
He's probably up there with the top 10, if not the top 5, as far as an operation goes. So I'm happy to be able to learn a lot from him, as well as Cameron. And then from there, I kind of continuing doing the pools and the jacuzzis and stuff, filling on in different boats. I got to work on the Fortune here with Shon for Bruce. Did that for the season and worked for Jeff Jessup here on the Amigo.
Yeah.
Then this opportunity came up and we snagged it.
Awesome. Sean, how about you? Where have you been working?
Where have I haven't been?
Sorry, really quick.
Please.
Dino is mentioning that for the veterans event, Joe's Charters is actually looking for volunteers to help out with that event. So if anybody out there is interested in helping for that event, contact Joe's Charters.
Definitely.
All right, Sean, your history. What boats have you worked on?
What have I haven't worked on? That's
Really?
the question, yeah.
Did you do long range?
Yeah, I did a little
Okay.
bit. Yeah, I started actually working on the Thunderbird when Bobby had it as a pinhead. I started there. I went to the Matt Walsh, worked there for 2 or 3 years with Walt and Paul.
Yeah.
Were running it, and then from there I went to the Amigo for 3 or 4 years with Mike Thompson when it was down in Newport.
Right.
Excellent operator. Excellent fisherman, learned a lot there. Then from there, went to I was actually working with Jeff when he was running the Outrider for Mr. Pittman, and then I went from there to the San Diego. Worked there with Ryan for 3 years, maybe 3.5 years.
How was that experience? Because
Excellent.
he's got such a great reputation. He fishes hard. That boat catches fish
Stressful
all the
at
time.
times for a lot of people. Back then there was still 60 people.
Yeah.
So when it's very, very, very long days, but learned an immense amount. Like learned a lot about like sonar, yellowtail fishing, things like that. Just setting up spots and current for certain areas and things like that. He's excellent customer service, excellent fisherman. Just that whole thing's great. Then from there, I went up to work on the Coral Sea. I was working there.
Man, you've been all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing it. This is my 21st year.
Really? How old are you?
35.
Yeah, you're a young guy.
Yeah. So, but I
You don't look a day over 90.
At least 50. Yeah, no. So, but yeah, I was up there on the Coral Sea for 4 years running relief. Up there, working deck a couple days a week, driving a couple days a week. And then I found out that Bruce really needed a guy to run the boat. So 2 years ago, I think the end of 2020, I went over there and I was pretty much ran that thing 80% of the time, I'd say.
Yeah, it seemed like you were. Every time I saw the boat coming in, you
at
were
least when it
running.
was up here, yeah, because he lives down in San Diego. But,
Yeah.
Then from there, just kind of been filling in here and there, and then this opportunity popped up, and I'll be here for the foreseeable future.
And with these vast experiences that both you guys have, is there an area that you prefer over another area? Start with you, Michael. Do you like fishing a certain area more than some other area? Do you like a certain species of fish to fish for?
I definitely prefer fishing in this area towards the South Bay.
Yeah.
The different islands.
Yeah, you grew up there in the Bay, so you like that area, I'm sure, right? The same thing I did too.
Right, just because of the variety, and then growing up here in Redondo, it's kind of what I'm most familiar with. and it's really nice fishing and still being able to see a different island or a landmass.
Yeah, right.
Especially with the bluefin being up here, it's really nice. I'd say probably a few years ago when the bluefin weren't here, I kind of liked going to San Diego, just because that's where the tuna was, and everybody wants a bluefin tuna.
Yeah, right.
Especially if they haven't had one.
Right, right.
And
but now
it's
that's
all
not even
it's all
an
about
issue,
the
right?
excitement.
Yeah.
And where the excitement is, where I want to be.
Yeah. How about you? You got a preference?
I'd say anything structure related, anything structure, bank, bank, island, boiler, kelp, hard bottom. I just
prefer that to offshore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd much rather fish the kelp line than drive around in a circle looking for a school of fish. Which, not to say that's that when you find that school, it's great. But you're driving, then you find it and it's great, and then you're back to driving again. Like, I just like the idea of looking over an island, seeing conditions. It's a lot more technical conditions, watercolor, temperature, bait, which way that when's the tide going to swing. I'd much more prefer island fishing or anything structure. Even fishing the banks for bluefin and yellowtail, that's fun too. I like putting the anchor down.
Yeah, me
Definitely.
too. I do too. Although I do like offshore. 14 anglers or whatever you guys fish with on your rig, that light load. You talked about 60 anglers on the San Diego, and that can be stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Geez, when I worked on the Searcher back in the late 70s, maybe the early 80s, we used to put 90-something people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Pulling out of island full, yeah.
Yeah, or offshore Albie. And so, nobody had a bunk. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was sleeping in the galley and everything. That was brutal, man. I was used to that combat fishing. That's why when you talk about, like, we're going with 14 people, or you throw 12 on there, or even 18, that is so great, right? It's such a better experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you can't pay attention. I mean, you can't give any single person, when you got 60 people or 90 people, you can't give anybody any attention. You can't help Jonathan Morales catch his bluefin or spend time trying to get him a bite. And
Too many people.
Yeah, those light
one-on-one
loads.
experience. One-on-one with the passenger is ideal.
Yeah, for sure. And the small boat and the fact that it's so quiet, man, that means so much, doesn't it? I mean, does that mean a lot in terms of tuna fishing also?
Oh yeah, that thing had an excellent life down there. Jason, they phenomenal bluefin fishing. It, when you find a school, there's times of the year when they're just not biting, they're on their own stuff, or they're just not in it. But if there's a time when they're in a mood where you could get a school to bite, if you found a school with that boat, it would definitely stick to it. It's a fish catching machine.
All right, yeah. I want to ask you gentlemen a couple questions about tackle. Okay, fluorocarbon. What's your opinion about fishing fluoro? Do you fish it all the time?
Use it.
Yeah, for everything.
If you have it, use it.
In terms of throwing an iron, you don't need it, right? But
I don't think you have to use it if you're fishing rockfish, especially deep water rockfish. It's already dark enough down there in the first place. But if you're fishing for calico bass or yellowtail, bluefin, any of that stuff, if you have it, use it.
Agree?
Yeah, the reason why I would say use it as much as you can is not so much for the visibility, but for the abrasion resistance, especially fishing the islands. If you're fishing anywhere where there's any kind of structure, you have, especially with these guys that like to fish a lot of braid. You're fishing braid, a braid touches a rock, it's gone.
Yeah, right.
But if fluorocarbon, like I've had times where fishing 50 or 60 pound fluorocarbon with like a yo-yo jig for yellows, and you catch your fish and you go through it and it looks like a bunch of hairs breaking off the line. You still got your fish because of that line and the abrasion. You have the abrasion resistance, and then you also have the fact where it's not as easily seen.
Shon, that is interesting that you say that, because I thought, you're fishing the iron, you don't need it, but you're right, because of the abrasion resistance.
If you're fishing braid, like there's guys who like to fish braid for the iron, like braid is just a little short top shot.
Yeah,
that's the only reason why I would use it. Like especially for yellows, like you're fishing around structure, you're gonna need that. If it's mono does not hang up or doesn't last as long as a fluorocarbon would. It's going to break off a lot sooner.
Hooking your bait for bluefin tuna, what's the best way to hook your bait? Do you like a nose hook, butt hook, collar hook?
I like...
Or does it depend upon conditions? And
the belly, and I personally like putting it through its nose, the old-fashioned way. Seems to work really well. I think it's more important.
Sideways through the nose or up through the
Sideways
mouth?
through the nose.
Uh-huh.
I think it's more important about spending time at the bait tank and picking the right bait and being gentle with the bait. So you're not scooping in there, taking all the scales off of them. You gently put your hand in there, cup the bait, and gently squeeze it. If your bait's bleeding when you hook it, it's already dead. You should just get another bait. And if you got scales all over your hand, you're probably squeezing it too hard. So
yeah, for sure.
There's a certain skill level to it that everybody's going to learn over time. But ultimately, I don't really think it's where you hook it, given that obviously if you belly hook it, the bait's going to swim down.
Right.
So you will get lower. But it's really the condition of the bait that you're going to have on your hook.
Yeah, absolutely. Shon, favorite jig for fishing bluefin? Let's take nighttime. Like, is it the knife jig? And whatever it is, how do you fish it? What's the proper way to do it?
And each jig has its own instance. So if you're fishing fish that are a little bit higher up in the water column, and the fish are kind of sticking with the boat a little bit more, I'd say more like the flat fall style. But if that fish is down 2, 3, 4, 500 feet, and there's a lot of times where you find them on the sonar, and they're literally gone in about 15 seconds. Those big heavy knife jigs, that's where they come into play. They come into play at when that fish is down 2, 3, 400 feet. Because that jig goes straight down. It rockets straight down. It doesn't like a flat fall. Why they get bit is because it looks like a bait swimming down. It doesn't get to the fish. So when that fish is racing past the boat and it's 4 or 5 feet, 400 or 500 feet down, those big knife jigs, 2, 3, 400 gram knife jigs, those things work very, very, very well.
Okay, so you get it down. What do? You start winding on it, or what do you do?
Yeah, with the knife jig, you don't kind of jig it as much. You get down to where you think that the fish are at, drop it another 30 seconds, and then just wind it back to the boat. It's really all you gotta do. If you're fishing a flat fall and you're fishing a little more upper in the water column, like 100 feet, 200 feet, like that, then you just kind of big sweeps. You lift it way up in the air and you just kind of let it fall back down. You work that area, you wind up maybe another 30, 40 feet, then you work that area. And the thing with the flat falls, a lot of braid. You want a lot of braid, just that thing sinks and falls down a lot smoother with braid, because it's the lighter the line, the more it's gonna, the better it's gonna fall. So a lot of braid, a short top shot with a flat fall, and then with the knife jig, whatever your preference is, you can fish straight braid, or whatever you want to fish.
Glow in the dark important or not?
I don't think so. I think it's just more. It's
reaction.
When that jig is falling, when it's either going down or being wound back up, those fish don't have. They're like, oh, that's a glow jig, I'm gonna eat it, or it's pink. It's like they're just like they see it dart by their face, and it's just like a yo-yo jig with a yellowtail. It's just straight animal instinct. Like, yeah, I'm pissed now. I want to eat it.
Yeah, right.
That's really all it is. It's not color. It's not this whole. Was it 3 or 4 years ago? Everyone had to have a red crab jig. It doesn't matter. Like, they're not eating your jig, because I've never seen a red crab swim as fast as you're winding a yo-yo jig. That's a pretty fast crab.
Yeah, definitely.
So
exactly.
It's just, fishing that I think could kind of sum up a lot of questions that, from what I've learned, is fishing, you just got to dumb it down. Don't overthink it. It's a fish. It's a reaction. And if you start getting your like, oh man, I'm not getting bits because I don't have that color, or I don't have the right hook. Just like Mike said, if you get a good bait, a lot of times it doesn't matter the size of the hook, the size of the line. They'll bite 40, they'll bite 50. You get a bait that goes down, hits the water, and swims straight down, it's going to get a bite. Don't soak your baits. If they're not long soak fish, you fish that bait 10 seconds. If it doesn't swim, you change it. A jig. If you're not getting bit, they're just not biting probably. If you're doing it the right way, it's not based on the color. It's not based on anything else. It's on your confidence. If you don't have confidence in it, you're probably not going to catch on it. Because if you don't have confidence in it, you're going to keep winding it up, you're going to keep changing it and things like that, and then that's going to equal no success.
It's funny you say that, because I was talking to, when I decked on the search, Norm Kagawa was on deck.
Yeah.
And a guy named Leroy, who I still talk to all the time.
Shintaku, yeah.
Yeah. And Leroy said, if color matters with jigs, how come I got bit all the time on the one with all the paint chipped off it?
Because they must like gray.
Yeah, I know, right? So
it's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, it does prove the point that it's a reaction. Like, I'm pissed, I'm going to eat that thing, right?
It's just straight. They don't care. Literally, they don't have the time. A fish with a brain this size is not smart enough to say that thing went by and it was red.
That's why Steve says I have so much in common with fish, because that small brain.
Exactly.
Thank you, Steve. Do you have a question? Wait, by the way, before you ask that question, Travis Strain I want to tell him thank you. He mentioned our sponsor, Opson. He fished with my son, Philip, and those guys were all over the fish. In fact, Travis, I know your dad, I think your mom, several family members had these giant bluefin. It was all on Opson fluorocarbon. Thanks for that. And also down in Ensenada, I saw Arnie up there. There he is. He's eating palomitas and watching the show. Go ahead, Steve.
Jeff is asking, while you're fishing for yellowtail, do you prefer circle or J hooks?
J, 100%.
And why?
Because that you can actually swing into the bite. A yellowtail, they have that bony jaw structure. You don't really need to, the fish is, if it doesn't take it and eat it, going super fast the other way, and you just put it in gear like a circle hook, a lot of times it won't actually come tight and it'll pull right out.
I know us guys that fish a lot, we prefer the J hook because we like to set the hook most of the time. It's kind of an old school thing we hear a lot of people talk about. What about someone who's not so savvy on setting a hook? Would you still recommend a J hook?
Because they still want to swing, even if they're not savvy. You see someone get bit, they all swing, even when they're not supposed to swing. So if certain species, like a bluefin, you want a circle hook because you want it right there in the corner. You don't want them to swallow it. You don't want them to chew you off 10 feet from the boat. Yellowtail, you want a J hook. They have a much stronger jaw and a much more bonier jaw. You want to swing, you get that J hook in there, it's not going anywhere. They're much softer. A yellowtail is much softer right here in the corner. You want it to get up here into the actual bone of the jaw of the fish, and it's not going to go anywhere. Same thing with the sea bass. They have really soft mouths on the inside, and if you have a big J hook, it'll get into the actual bone of the mouth, and you'll have a lot less hook pulls.
Got it. And then Arnie is asking, what do you think of phosphorescent green line? Is it useful for you?
Arnie has a sport fishing ponga down in Ensenada. He's a great guy, card fisherman.
I think the whole line color thing. I mean, obviously it's easier for you to see, right? Probably. So I mean, I think that comes into play with when you're in a tangle, or you can see which way your bait's going. I don't know if how well it changes you to get a bite or anything like that, but.
Yeah, because you don't really see a whole lot of fluorocarbons come in a variety of colors, right? If that were the case, then you would start seeing all these fluorocarbon manufacturers.
It would seem, right?
I just think I
think it helps the angler see it,
right.
see his line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arnie Man on Facebook if you want to go fishing with a great guy in Ensenada. Steve?
That's it.
Well, you do have up there Israel. And he said, my son loves the Pride. It was his first overnight trip. His son is named Isaac. I know Israel because we do a lot of stuff across the border, taking a lot of stuff down there. And he showed up with a whole bunch of clothing and brought his son to come down here. He was fishing on the docks here. This was a few weeks ago. Just a super great guy. But there you have, I'm guessing, Israel, you could put it up there, but I'm guessing Isaac's 9, 10 years old, something like that. Yeah. So that just proves the point that...
You remember.
Yeah, right?
No matter how little you are, you know, 3, 4, 5 years old, you always remember the good, most people remember the good things. They also remember the bad things. But if you can instill into a kid or a veteran or just someone that's here from Texas, that's here just for a good time. If you can show them a good time, show them the correct way to do it the first time, they're going to have a more enjoyable time for the rest of their life because they're going to know, oh, I did this and it worked. And the next time they do it, they're going to do it the right way and they're going to have a great time doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Alex, the intern, I'll give you an example. Great kid, right? You can tell.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not really buying
I already
that.
see where this is going, but yeah.
Where's it going?
I mean, hey,
We're on the Malahini.
Yeah.
And I don't fish.
Yeah.
I'm once in a while I'll fish if I feel like everybody's caught a fish
yeah.
and I've got enough video and everything else, but I'm videotaping on the Malahini, and we're catching pretty good bluefin, pretty good bite. Bill Wilkerson, who will be here next Tuesday night, was doing a great job as always. And Alex, everybody's frickin' hooked up. He cannot get hooked up. And it's 4 hours into this thing, and he's starting to drop F-bombs, so I'm chewing him out about, hey, you're effing my video up, keep that down. So I go to him, let me see that, okay? When I take it, it's just pure luck. I take it and I throw it, and I got my camera, in my pocket, and he walks disgusted, and I go, here you go. And I was on my first cast, handed him a fish, which he promptly lost, so it was disappointing.
Yeah.
But, it was funnier than hell, right? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
That kind of goes in with the whole thing where I said it's all about the confidence. You've been doing it for enough time, and you just knew. You're like, this is a good bait. They're biting. They've been boiling right here. I'm gonna get it, and I'm probably gonna get a bite because you just kind of knew you were gonna get a bite.
I kind of did.
With him, it's kind of like he hasn't done a lot of it, so it's like he's still going through the motions on learning on how to do things, and he does it this way, and it doesn't work, so he gets like just like crap, and then he does this, and that's not working. So then your mind starts really spinning, and you kind of become your own worst enemy with fishing. It's like I was saying, it's don't overthink it. If you get overthinking things and you start doing weird things, you're not going to get bit. Like
this is really good advice.
I've had times where like it's happened to me. Like I when I was like a kid, I was 13 years old, and we went white sea bass fishing. I forget what boat it was, but up north, the boat had 99 fish. I had 0 because I kept on winding up my squid, thinking that it had to be alive. And every time I wound up, the fish came through. All you had to do was just be down there when the fish came through. It's like a trout swimming through eating power bait. They're eating the bait that's dead on the bottom. That's what they're doing. And it's just instances like that. I've had another time where I couldn't get bit on a jig fishing yellows. I think it was at the Coronados, and it was just when I was younger and just not getting bit and getting disturbed. Just like I can't get bit, and start changing jigs and colors and kind of going against what I'm trying to say right now. It's when you just dumb it down, think about it, you'll get bit. Like sometimes I've even seen guys where they have to like literally stop, put the rod up, go inside, grab a beer, sit down,
calm down.
They walk out, pitch a bait, and just get bit immediately.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. It's when you overthink it, it becomes difficult.
That's good advice, man. Because
fish are not intelligent. They're just not.
Is that true?
That's just
because people give them a lot of credit.
I think they give them all a lot more credit than what they are. They're not smart. I've caught yellowfin on slices of tomatoes before. Is that a smart fish? I don't think so.
I haven't found any fish that can add 2 + 2, so
yeah,
they're not that damn smart.
There's times when when they're not biting, it's just they're on their own program. It's not because they're outsmarting you; they're doing their own thing.
Right.
But when they're in their program and they're eating, it's 1 + 1's 2.
Yeah,
that's really all it is to it.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah. So N6 Union is asking back to the boat. How does Pride drift?
It drifts kind of, I honestly can't say for sure because I've only personally driven it a couple times, and I haven't really been on it in the past. But most boats like that, they typically drift bow first. I would assume it doesn't rock too much on for being a little mini Aztec or a little mini Relentless. It doesn't rock too much, and it's pretty slow. A nice slow drift. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit bow first, but I could be 100% wrong. I'll know this year.
And then Israel is asking, how was your guys' experience working with the San Diego landings versus up here?
A lot more hectic. There's a lot more going on, a lot more competition. Up here, it's a lot more like family and mellow and laid back. I think that's the best way to put it. Down there, it's like 20 boats going out. Up here, it's like 5 boats going out, and like everyone can kind of chill out and mellow out a little bit. It's a lot more down to earth.
You mean it's more competitive down there?
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, code groups and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
I know. Well, I know.
More politics.
It can definitely be bad for sure, but I mean, San Diego's great. I mean, they excellent boats down there and excellent operations. I just think it's a lot more laid back up here.
Yeah, and you like that better?
Much better, less stressful. Don't have to worry about so many different things. Mike does a great. Well, I know you say Mike doesn't do a great job.
No, Mike sucks.
Mike,
Mike, are you watching tonight? Mike's not even watching.
He does a great job. He makes sure things are in line and in place and all that. So it's when you have someone like that, and then for us for our first few years, we're booking our own trips. We're not doing any kind of bookkeeper or anything like that. So I mean, when you have someone that can do that, and I can just call up and say, hey. I just booked a trip, and then he'll put it on. Or, hey, we changed the price on this trip. Makes it easy.
By the way, you guys are kicking ass on your charters so far, right? I mean, for having a boat the first year, how many trips do you have?
I think we have 67.
Wow!
67 trips, and a lot of them are 2 days.
Coming out of the gate, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, like I said, it's all goes back to all the past people that we fished with, and they have the faith in us. Some of them I don't know why, but they have the faith in us, and we're gonna do our best. Like I said, we're gonna try to cater to the 100% customer service aspect. We want to kill when it's time to kill, but when it's not, when there's different opportunities, and say you're driving around to the next spot, it's all about customer interaction.
Yeah, having fun,
having the proper gear when you get the chance.
Right.
Having we want it to be to where 2, 3, 4 years. We have 200 plus days, and we know every single one of them, and we go fishing with them during the wintertime. That's kind of that's why I like charter business. You get a detailed relationship with people, as long as you do it the right way. Obviously, there's boats where it's like they don't do it that way, and it's just like another person to write the check.
Yeah, right.
But
I can see you guys are totally different.
I
can see that.
I mean, obviously, we're saying that now. We'll see in 2 years when.
Yeah, when you're pulling your hair out.
Yeah, but I mean,
you're gonna look like me.
Yeah, we want it to kind of. We like the whole personal level. We want to have A+ food. We want to have A+ gear on the boat. We want to we want to give obviously fishing's fishing. We're going to give our 150%. Like, we're going to be aggressive, and we're going to fish as hard as we can for you with things that we know and things that we know to do. But when fishing's fishing, and when it's not biting, we want the passenger to still feel like they got their money's worth when the fish aren't biting.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing.
Because you can control the food and the camaraderie and the instruction. You can't control whether they bite or not.
We want the passenger, I mean, obviously, hopefully this, doesn't happen very much this year, but to be like, we didn't catch anything, but hey, we'll see you next year. That's where you know that you did something right. It's
yeah,
where
absolutely.
Obviously, more times than not, hopefully, it's going to be great fishing, but there's going to be times when it just doesn't line up, weather or fish, bad conditions or wrong way current or things like that. Things are going to happen, but it's the things, just like I said, in the long run, you're like, hey, my kid, I didn't have enough rods for my kid, and they let him use a rod on the boat, and they rigged it up, and he caught a yellowtail. It's just things like that.
Yeah, and that guy's going to tell the next person and the next person, because that kind of customer service, man, that keeps them coming back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait to fish with you guys. I'm really excited about it.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, you're probably thinking, "Oh God, I don't want to fish with this."
I've heard a lot of stories, but yeah, no, we're definitely gonna hit the ground running, and every trip is gonna be like the last, and try our 100%.
Yeah, and I really enjoy shooting the videos now, and I just try to capture those really
and that'll be pretty cool.
Special moments with people. That's what I'm after. I'm after that kid catching his first fish.
That's awesome, yeah.
So bitching, and some of the stuff that we've been able to capture is great. Like Steve Ennis up there is saying he was on that Malahini trip, and he was right next to Alex when he lost that fish. So, Steve, that was a special moment, wasn't it? It's something I'll never, ever forget. Alex has left the room since I started making fun of him.
Yeah, he's
Steve,
not having that.
Anything else? All right, and then, like I said, I'm hoping that Isaac and his father, Israel, I'm hoping they jump on one of these trips with us also. Like earlier in the season, so March, do you have many trips? Probably don't have many trips. Nobody has that many trips in March, April. Are those viable months? Is that
100%?
What can you do during that time? Coming out of winter, just moving into the spring.
With how things have been,
yeah.
I mean, we could run a day and a half trip in March, go out and catch limits of bluefin, and catch limits of rockfish, or we could go to Clemente, try and catch a yellowtail or some bass on a day and a half trip, and if it doesn't pan out, you could shoot over to Catalina in the afternoon, fish a couple beaches, fish afternoon and evening there. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and I personally think with the way things are setting up, I've been talking to a lot of different people. There's already a decent amount of there's a lot of squid around. There's already a decent amount of sea bass around as well, spread out. I mean, when it was in its heydays, Catalina bit in March, April.
Yeah,
no problem. So I mean, we actually have a couple handfuls of trips March and April, and we're gonna hopefully throw on some open party 2-day trips, and it'll be kind of geared towards that. If there's bluefin on the banks, we'll go there, and then we'll fall back to the islands on day 2. If it's not biting out there, then we'll go to Clemente on day 1, and then run into Catalina for the afternoon till the next day. So I mean, it's our seasons have gotten extended over the last few years. I remember it used to be 5 months if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Now it's turned into when the rockfish are closed. That's when it's that's
exactly.
kind of when you start just because you have nothing to fall back on. So I mean, I think that there's a lot of groups kind of starting to book, and during those March, April months, because it's a couple months that don't get very much credit, but with this whole squid and sea bass deal, I think they could be excellent for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Michael, if somebody wanted to come down and check the boat out, can they call you guys and like come down and meet you sometime and just
Definitely
get a tour of the boat? Is that possible?
Yeah.
absolutely. Our number is up on our Facebook, and is it on our Instagram as well?
Yep. Mike lives right up here. I live in Dana Point, but he's pretty much right across the street. Or Mike can show on the boat.
If you want to come down and take a look at it, just give us a call. We'll work out the logistics and gladly give you guys a tour.
Yeah.
Excellent. That sounds good, because I think people will be super impressed with the boat. I am. I walked down there and jumped on there. I needed a place to sleep, so I went down there and slept.
Is
that okay with you?
Yeah,
guys?
that's fine.
Absolutely.
Do I owe you any money?
If you do 3, if you're doing 3 trips, that's fine. You can sleep.
Oh, okay. Well, how about if I do 4? What are you going to send a massage girl down there for me?
I don't know. Mike will go down there. He's
How's he
close.
looking a miniskirt?
I don't know.
Oh, well.
We'll see.
We're gonna have to find out.
Yeah, but
how about we don't find out?
Mike's here. Mike's at the landing. He's got a key to our boat. He can show you guys too. Pretty soon here, I'd say in the next 2 weeks, we'll have a full interactive web page up. It's going to be an excellent tool. Basically, it's going to have everything on there. We're going to have every day we're going to go out and we're going to put a report. It's going to post to the page pictures and everything every day.
Oh, that's great.
As we can get it. If you want to book a trip, it's going to have the full calendar of who's booking, if there's an open party. If there's no open party and there's no date for a charter, you're going to be able to book a charter directly through our webpage. You're just going to click it, and it's going to print out a contract directly to your page.
Really?
And you can sign it like a DocuSign and pay right then and there. So we'll have that hopefully in the next 2 weeks. But I know it's been people are kind of hard to get a hold of us, as they don't really know too much, and they've been either calling Jason or they just haven't known who to call. But I mean, we have our phone number up there on Facebook. If you're on
What is
Instagram,
it? Go ahead and give it out.
my phone number is 949-793-5128. It's on Pride Sport Fishing's Facebook. It's also, I don't think it's on the Instagram, but if you want to know anything else on Instagram, you can just DM me directly. I can give you any kind of info. I'm the one booking the trips on my calendar, so if you have any dates, I'll know exactly what's open. I'll know who's trying to book what, and I can get you guys set up.
And what will the web address be for the new website once it's up?
PrideSportFishing.com.
Awesome.
Very straightforward.
Steve?
Yeah, we have one question from Israel, or a couple questions from Israel. What are your thoughts on the sinker rig setup?
I think it's an excellent tool during the daytime. They fish it a lot down south, like at the Hurricane Bank at night, or off of Clarion in the buffer zone. It's a good tool for night. It really comes in handy when that fish is just kind of hanging out and they're not reacting to the jigs. I don't know if it's true, but I mean, I've seen when they're either eating one or the other. If they're not eating the jig full speed, they'll bite a sinker rig. If they're biting the sinker rig, they won't bite the jig full speed. I think it's because when they want to eat a jig, it's a reaction. They're fired up. They want to eat it. The sinker rig, they're a lot slower. They're not moving around as fast, and it's just a bait that's sitting there, and then they eat it. But I mean, with the whole sinker rig deal, I see a lot of guys. The main thing that I could see that people do wrong is they let the bait out too fast, and a lot of times your bait will fall off. You just want to nice and slow. Just give it a slow. Get down to about 100 feet. Stop. Fish it there. You don't get bit there. 150 feet, 200 feet, and one thing that will definitely help is you can hook your bait through the nose. It'll live longer, but typically with the sinker rig, you're not going to fish it for too long. You kind of might want to hook it through the jaw, up through the nose. It'll stay on your hook better. If you do go and drop it down too fast, the hook will actually stay on your bait better.
Awesome. One more question from N6 Yoon. He's asking, are you guys going to be at any of the upcoming shows? And will you be booking there if you are going to be at the shows?
We will not. I've had a couple people ask us for my buddy Seth Mostero from Cope's Tackle in Bakersfield. He wanted me to go there, but and the Fred Hall I know is coming up now, and I've heard about it. I've heard about a boycott with the Fred Hall show.
Oh yeah, I have no comment on that.
We'll see. Well,
I've heard the same thing. I'll say that.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens with this year.
We're not going. And
I don't know. I know a lot of people.
Going?
I know a lot of guys.
We'll be at the PCS show.
You will?
Yeah, Promo will be at the PCS.
I'll be there too. I have a booth there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Right on. But yeah, no, we're not going to any shows this year. I mean, honestly, we don't really need to.
By the way, my booth, I serve beer at the Orange County Fair, during this. So I'm going to, I haven't gotten an offer yet, but if I'm going to have my own little beer stand, and I want some big tips coming from all you guys if I am there. So that's for sure. Anything else over there?
No.
All right. So you guys seem really high on this upcoming season. And who knows? But you guys seem like you're thinking this is going to be a great season.
It could be. We're hoping for it, yeah. I mean, things are lining up. Fishing's fishing, but...
Are you the cook? Are you going to be doing all the cooking?
I'll be all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I could be at second. Generally, I'll be cooking. I could be on deck.
Can you give people...
Be all over the place.
Michael, can you give people just some people don't know what kind of food. Can you take us through breakfast, lunch? Can you take us through a day?
Sure.
What
burrito. No, I'm kidding.
You get a breakfast burrito, carnitas burrito.
And then you cut it in half for lunch, and then you cut it into fours for dinner.
Beautiful. That is long-range style.
Yeah. For breakfast, I mean, you can be anywhere from a breakfast sandwich to French toast, even like an Eggs Benedict. You really never know.
Wow. The
lunch could be anywhere from a cheeseburger to a teriyaki stir-fry with rice. There's lots and lots of options. For dinner, you can go anywhere from chicken to pork chops to steak, mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes, green beans, asparagus, Brussels sprouts.
And are there snacks during the day?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Two snacks a day.
You'll have cheese and cracker plates here, maybe a hors d'oeuvres plate with peppers. There will be hot snacks, anywhere from hot wings or taquitos. And one thing with us is you're never going to be hungry.
Yeah, it's going to be long range style. We're obviously not long range. We don't have the space, but it's going to be long range style. You're going to get a good breakfast. You're going to get a light snack, and you're going to get a good lunch. And then you're going to get a light snack and then an excellent dinner. And if you're on a day and a half or a 2.5, you're going to get a little breakfast on the way in.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, I was talking to Micah about it. We're gonna kind of do we're not gonna get crazy with it, but we're gonna for our groups, we'll basically call you up a week before your trip, and you'll have an option to choose different things. So
for your dinners,
if you're okay, we want pork chops, all right, pork chops and whatever green beans and rice, or if they're hey, is there any way we can get pastrami for lunch? Sure, we're not gonna be
Oh, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first year,
That's
so
a pain
we kind
in
of
the
got
neck,
it all.
though, for you guys, isn't it?
Not really. I mean, it's
just a matter of asking a question.
It's a smaller boat.
Yeah.
It's a smaller boat. There's not as many people. It's not like we're shopping for 30 people. It's a lot simpler and just a lot easier.
Has this business become more difficult due to Coast Guard regs and paperwork because people, I think they think you guys are living the life, man. You go out and you're catching fish. It's easy, no problem.
We haven't even ran a trip yet, and we could probably write a novel on all the paperwork that we filled out.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't think it's necessarily changed. I just think it's always been there.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, the guys running the boat complaining about it. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of things that people don't see behind the scenes, besides catching their tuna. It's a lot of things that lead up to that. But yeah, I mean, we stay up on all of it. It's just a lot of paperwork, a lot of signatures, and a lot of money and things like that. But when it all comes down to it, and you actually get to start running your trips, then it's all worth it.
What does it feel like when, I'm sure you've had this experience, when you're busting your ass, you're working hard, the fish are not biting, and you hear somebody out your window down there saying, "Man,
that's never
sucks." Yeah, right. Do you just blow it off, or does it hurt, or
when it first started? When you first hear it the first few times running a boat, you're kind of not necessarily hurts, just dude, I'm trying my hardest here. But
do you ever stick your head out the window and say that?
I might have said it a couple times, nonchalantly, where they didn't even understand what I was saying.
Yeah,
I kind of said it so sleek, but it is what it is. You're gonna hear. It doesn't matter what boat you're on. There's gonna be a guy that's gonna be we shouldn't be fishing here. I fished on the Freedom last year, and we caught him here, and that's where we should be.
Yeah, right.
It's it happens all the time. You just gotta brush it off.
And some people don't understand what's going on. I mean, when you re-anchor, it looks like you're moving a short distance and trying to get.
Or if you're catching rockfish and you pull the boat and you get into another drift, they think that we could have just kept on drifting for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, right.
When the rock was the size of this table.
Yeah.
Right. Do you explain that, like, over the, if you notice that?
Oh, yeah.
You say, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very.
You're on the PA?
I talk too much. I
don't think you can talk to. I really like that for my group.
I'm very
I like
in depth. I let everyone know exactly what's happening, what we're doing, where we're going, why we're doing it. I try and give as much info as I possibly can, so it'll put the angler in the best position for once we get to the next spot.
Yeah, yeah. I told this story before, but we were on the Conquest many years ago with Joe Chape, and Joe's freaking a hardcore kick-ass fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
I love fisherman.
He's great. Yeah,
hooked with him a lot and fished with him a lot.
Caught a couple
back in
fish.
the
Yeah.
day. Oh my God. He just worked at it, and we never had a bad trip.
Yep.
It seemed like.
Yep.
So there's one time we're freaking at the Coronado Islands. He drops the anchor, and then he's pulling it like 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
And he's making it. He's trying to get on this spot, trying to nail it
before someone else gets there.
So I'm sitting out on back deck with a guy named Bob Alvarez. He may be listening to this, and he goes. Joe drops the anchor again, and he goes, didn't we frickin' we just moved like 2 feet. What the hell is he doing? And he whispers that to me, right?
It matters.
And Joe frickin' hears it.
Oh, you can hear everything.
Yeah, you can. People don't realize that.
I can hear what you whispered in the corner in the wheelhouse.
Right.
Everybody that's listening, I can hear you.
Yeah, be careful. So Joe turns around, and Joe knew Bob and I really good, so he could let it hang. And he was like, he goes, hey, Alvarez, you frickin' know how to run. You know, he wasn't saying frickin'.
He wasn't happy.
You want to frickin' run this boat? Get in here right now. You frickin' come in here and do it. So that little move that Joe made.
It's a game of inches.
We caught 0 on the first one. The next move, 100 plus on the yellows.
Yeah.
At the Coronado Islands.
Yeah.
It is a game of inches. What is that all about? Why is it a game of inches? Just try to guess at what he did there. What did he do the first time?
I don't know where he was fishing at the Coronado.
Fishing like the rock pile, I think, but whatever.
It could be. I mean, when you're on the rock pile, there's when you're not on the pile itself, you're in mud.
Yeah.
It could be the direction that the current was going when he had first set up. It was kind of the stern could have been facing off into the mud. If these fish are over here and the current's going back here, your baits are going back here and the fish are over here. They don't really see it. But if you have the boat actually anchored into where the structure is at and where the fish are at, which could be literally 20 feet, probably wasn't obviously 2 feet. That's not really. But
yeah, no.
It was probably a couple boat lengths.
Yeah.
That could be 100 feet. 100 feet from here to here could be the difference between 0 and 100. Just because that's where the fish are at, that's where they're set up, that's where the current has them, positioned on that rock, on that pinnacle, that kelp line, just like sea bass fishing. For that instance, it's like you could literally be at like say the Orange Rocks kelp at Catalina. That's a game of inches spot. You could be, if you're a little bit over one way, you're catching whitefish and sheephead and things like that. If you're sitting where you want to be for the way the current's going, it could be straight sea bass or sargo or mixed in with things like that and bass. And then if you're over here, you could be catching nothing because you're just off in the mud and those fish are set up facing the current and they're set up on that spot a certain way.
I think that is such an important, Michael. That is so important to hear that because people down on deck who are passengers
they just don't
realize.
Yeah,
and it's really not their fault,
no,
I guess, right? Because
not at all.
They're like saying to themselves,
"That's
what
why
the
you
hell?
just let it brush it off." That's why it's.
And you explain it to them like he was.
They still
saying,
don't understand.
Get on the PA and explain to them what you're doing, opposed to just tell them you're gonna make a quick move.
Yeah, because it makes a difference. Some don't understand, but some do, right?
It shot me in the foot a couple times by saying something like, "Oh, we're gonna go here and we should do this," and it didn't work out. So it's like, "Oh, well, the captain said this, but I go,
it
didn't
work out."
Yeah, sorry, man. But then the next spot we catch fish. It's a huge importance of just fishing like rockfish too. A lot of those spots that you're fishing in deep water are literally the size of this room, and you look at the boat from a boat's perspective, the size of this room, a rock that's this big, only one portion of the boat could actually be on it, and you could be on and off it in literally 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And 20 feet to the right, you're catching nothing.
I don't think people realize that those spots are so
the size of this
small.
room. There's a lot of spots that are the size of this room or smaller,
mm-hmm.
and those are some of the best ones because it's condensed. The fish are just on a small condensed. Yeah, exactly. It's certain, there's different spots where it's bigger and you have longer drifts and you can drift forever. But that's where these people come from. They're like, oh, I was on this boat and we drifted for a mile and a half catching whitefish and rockfish. It's because the area was big, vast area, a lot of hard bottom or little pinnacles mixed with like hard bottom. Then there's spots where it's like you're literally there for one drop. If you don't drop when the captain says, you could have already missed it. The boat, especially if there's current and you're drifting fast.
Nope. All right. I asked this question of Mark Paisano and Paul or I actually asked it of Mark Paisano, and it led to a podcast that got 250,000 views. So I'll ask both of you guys: have you ever rescued anybody at sea? Have you had any? What's the most harrowing moment you've ever had at sea? Anything crazy, Michael?
I don't think anything spectacular.
No.
Not yet.
How about you?
Keep our eyes open.
You know. I mean, I've been doing it in a long time, and I really haven't.
Really?
I've been lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't plan on it anytime soon.
So you never had anybody get sick or?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I've had.
Really sick, not
like
just
small, like a small seizure or something like that, or something that could be maintained, and you could, and it was not a big deal. They have their own medications for it, but I've never. I mean, maybe a little bit of chest pain. Like I just haven't had it, and I'm fortunate.
You mean indigestion after Michael cooked?
Exactly.
Yeah, that happens all the time, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, we just deal with that. That's a whole different ballgame. But no, I'm fortunate. Hasn't happened. I don't want it to happen. But if it does, we're ready for it. Like Mike, I know has, experience and knowledge doing what he's done. Me, I've done it on the boat.
You mean in case somebody needs a pool installed out there while they're fishing?
Yeah, exactly. And I actually almost went like the whole like firefighter route.
Oh, you did?
So I'm a certified EMT. I went to numerous training for things like that. So I haven't had to use it, but I have enough training to where I could take care of it.
Well, I can rest easy now, Steve, because I'm getting up there toward 90 years old.
I can't make it. I can't start any medications on it. That's a whole paramedic deal.
That's all right.
I can tell you what you need when it's happening.
As long as you're willing to give me mouth to mouth and save my life.
That's him. I'll tell him.
Really, you're not going to do it?
No.
Why don't you get a galley girl on there so she can do it? That would be a lot better. Couple more. I just want to get a couple more tackle questions in, and then we're starting to wind up toward the end here. It sounds like. Yo-yo iron fishing, what kind of tackle and color on jigs doesn't matter anymore, right? What do you say?
6X juniors.
Yeah, you could start basic, but you could also get into depth in depth with like the whole yo-yo fishing. Depends on how deep you're fishing. If you're fishing shallower water, you fish a smaller jig like a 6X junior, an A1 or something like that. But if you're fishing deeper where you need to get down, a full size 6X or one of those new like JRIs that are super heavy or something like that, but basic, as heavy as you can get away with, that's my motto fishing.
And the line, do you fish heavy?
Yeah, as heavy as you can get away with, 60, 80,
100? Yeah, that's what I like. And I asked that question because out there on Cortez and Tanner, you can get into some bitchin' yo-yo iron bites on yellows, right?
Yep.
Big fish, and they bite that really good.
Excellent, yeah. It just all depends on the structure and where you're sitting at. Like we had a bite last year. I think it was in end of April, might have been May, where we were fishing 40 feet of water up on the bank, and they would only bite a yo-yo jig, and it was all the smallest, lightest yo-yo jigs that you could possibly find. If you had a big giant one, you just didn't get bit because it was not going in through way too fast through where they're actually sitting.
And have we decided that color's not important?
Definitely not important.
Really?
I'll stand by it.
All right, because look at all those jigs back there. Those
they look great.
They do, right?
That one's pretty.
I think they'll all work.
That's what it is. It's
It's for the angler.
People can say, "Oh, surface iron, I like that mint jig for a yellowtail." Well, it's because I think it's because you like the mint jig and you have confidence in it. It's all confidence. If you say I'm going to get bit on it, it's just like he was talking about how he puts a scent on the sponge. I've done that with squid juice. You dip a sponge because you just know you're going to get bit. It's all confidence.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself when he said that, well, why should I buy a jig then? I'm just going to get a sponge.
That's what I would do.
Go to Walmart and buy a bunch of sponges.
Just have him make up the whole sex spray, whatever. You could just use sponges.
Yeah, Steve got excited when he heard that sex spray. I don't know why.
These look
you
great,
like
though.
Fishing for sand bass with that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These look great, though.
They do look really good, right?
I'm going to talk to him. I'd actually like him to make one of these smaller ones with a little bit skinnier tube for like a 1/8 ounce for go out to like Pyramid. I go out there. I mostly fly fish up there, but they bite those excellent as well.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to fish that bait in the surf. That might be a little big, but I love surf fishing.
I think they'll eat that, no problem.
Yeah, I think they will too. Do you surf fish at all?
Not really. No, I've actually never surf fished.
Really?
So one thing I've never done.
I freaking love surfing.
I think I might have went one time casting for like
30
seconds and caught nothing, but I've just never done it.
Hey, I caught, I think it was either 2 years or 3 years ago, I caught one of the biggest yellowfin croaker ever taken in California, according to the DFG. I caught this frickin' thing, and it looked like a redfish or something. And I never get filmed catching fish, because I'm always filming. Mm-hmm. So I hooked this fish in the surf, throwing a crocodile. It was on St. Patrick's Day a couple years ago. And I go to my son Philip, he's right next to me. I go, dude, film this. This is a nice fish. I don't know what this is, but it's a nice fish. Pull this frickin' thing out. So a yellowfin croaker, it was just shy of 22 inches. It was a big yellowfin croaker. And so we go and we look in the DFG, and the largest one ever taken, was taken by a friend of mine too, Fred Oakley, was 21.9 inches. So I go, we got frickin', this is it, man.
We got to weigh it.
We got a world record. So we're running around. We go over to Big Fish Bait and Tackle. He doesn't have a certified scale. So we go to Ralph's or whatever, and we go into the meat department. I go, hey, will you? So he weighed it up. It turned out it was weighed less than Fred's fish. Mm-hmm. So I ended up, we went for a donut to this place where these Cambodian girls that I know work, and I go, hey, you guys want a yellowfin? Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Of course. So I gave my yellowfin
free donuts
away. I should have had it mounted. But, yeah, surf fishing can be so much fun. I love it. And you know who's really good at it? Tino.
Yeah, I see him post up all the time.
Yeah, he wants to fish Corvino.
He calls up Bob and say, hey, Bob, come try the boat. I want to go.
Yeah, exactly. All right, are we wrapping it up, I think?
So.
We've got Patreon to do still.
We do.
You boys want to give your contact numbers one more time? I cannot wait to fish with you guys this year. I'm so excited about it. I think your attitude is, I don't care what Steve says about you two guys. I think your attitude is great. And I love, you know what? I really like that. You're going to have 4 or 5 rods ready to go for somebody that maybe has got a spinning reel that's not working out that well, or a kid who can't get bit.
Yeah, just so you know, you don't hang out the window and say, that's not right, and then just kind of go back in. Now we're going to, that's not right, and here you go.
Yeah. Are you hooking and handing fish too, or not?
We'll do it. My whole thing with that hook and hand thing, it's cool. I get to come out and hook fish, and it's la-di-da. But I would personally rather, if it's possible, I'd rather show the person how to do it themselves. That way
I agree.
They can hook it themselves and do it. Maybe like they say, hey, look at this. You show them, you do it, you grab the bait, you hook one, they wind it in, and then just let them kind of go from there.
There's a sense of accomplishment on their part, and
it's
also
fun.
Yeah, and they give you guys the credit for teaching them how to do it.
Yeah, I'd much rather have someone hook their own fish.
Yeah. Pride Sport Fishing here at 22nd Street Landing in beautiful San Pedro, California. Boys, contact info. What's the best way? If people want to book a trip, what's the best way to do it?
Honestly, the best way, if you don't get this number down, it's 949-793-5128. If you don't get that number down, you can go on to our Facebook or our Instagram, Pride Sport Fishing. Pretty straightforward. We'll have our website up hopefully in the next couple weeks, and then that'll be the same thing, pridesportfishing.com. I'd say the easiest way is just to go on Facebook or Instagram and just message me on there, and we'll get you guys set up with whatever you'd like.
Excellent. And if you'd like to join us, Friedman Adventures, on a trip on the Pride, you can look at Friedman Adventures Facebook page. We've got those trips up there right now. You'll be able to see it. Don't go anywhere. We're going to do a drawing now, and then we'll have you guys say goodbye one more time. Steve?
We're going to add one or two Pride shirts to the raffle.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Excellent.
That's awesome. Beautiful.
And then we got a couple new subscribers to the Patreon, David Thompson and Cruz Soto, so they're going to be eligible for tonight's giveaway as well.
Cruz Soto, mi amigo, mi hermano, te amo mucho, Cruz.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell.
Hey, thank you.
I know, man. You guys
stole my line.
I know, right?
Yeah. Hey, we did okay. By the way, Steve, I don't even realize this, but we have almost 300,000 views this first year on YouTube. So I said, hey, how's, Apple Podcast and what else are we on? Spotify and all that. How are we doing there? And he goes, well, we get more there. And I go, what? So we ended up with 800,000 plays this first year, which we're stoked about, right? Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you, everybody that's listening.
Yeah, hey, really, you know what? Thank you so much. All the subscriptions and all the support, we deeply appreciate it. I'm thinking about doing a little meet and greet down here in this office once this all gets cleaned up. They're remodeling. And then if you guys are in, maybe we could do a thing where people could walk down and see the boat, or or something like that. Go for a boat ride. Who knows? I'm trying to rope
Yeah.
you in on something here that you probably don't want to do.
That actually sounds fun. I know that Mike they had done that whole like San Pedro style day at the docks. Hopefully we can do something like that.
That would be cool. Yeah,
We can
did
go out
that.
on the boat. We'll drive around the harbor, come back,
Yeah,
and go on the different boats.
we did that down here. Or when the last time Mike did it, we had a jalapeno eating contest. Did you hear about that?
I heard about it.
Oh my God, it was brutal.
I heard it.
Those poor people.
I heard it killed some people.
It did, man. It was really brutal. All right, I spun the wheel, and the winner is, Steve can show you, Scott Grant.
Oh wow! Congratulations, Scott Grant.
Congratulations.
He
And
was
these
asking
guys-
some great questions tonight.
Yeah, he was, Scott.
I thought
Thanks
you
for
were gonna say Scott
participating.
Boucher.
He's got Pride T-shirts for you. We've got some of the baits. What are those called again?
Mag12 baits.
That's
we got
right.
a Daiwa hat coming along your way. We got a accessory tackle jig accessory bag and a couple of ahi jigs in there. So it's a pretty good package tonight.
It's really good. Thanks to these guys. And Patreon is $5 a month. Everybody, it helps Steve and I produce great content for all of you. $5. It's like $1 something every week to be in the drawing. And Scott, thank you so much, boys. I'm really freaking happy to have you on the show. I'm really proud of you because I met you when you were 14. You,
I know, man.
You not so much, but
I'm just some random guy down here.
no,
I was walking the docks. They gave me a job.
I can tell that you guys are gonna freaking kill it. I'm not even talking about the fishing. I'm talking
It's
about
the effort.
the
effort will
customer
be there.
service,
Oh, yeah.
the effort, everything you guys are putting into this. I'm so happy that we have 3 trips with you this year, and I'm sure as we move along, who knows? I'll probably do another one before this is all over. But in the coming years, I'm positive we'll be fishing a lot with you guys, and I cannot wait to get out there, shoot some video, and have a
Yeah.
good time with you guys. It's going to be
Definitely.
a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it.
All right. I think that's it. Steve, as always, a pleasure working with you. Alex is gone. He's taken off. Once again, let me thank 22nd Street Landing, where we are at right here. Daiwa, right behind me there. They are a rod and reel sponsor. Opsin Fluorocarbon, www.opsinusa.com. Put in FA at checkout, and you'll get a free prize. CCA, making fishing possible for everybody. Fish Taco Chronicles. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and as Michael said, subscribe to the channel on YouTube and click the bell so we can notify you when there is new content. As always, it's a pleasure for us to be with you. Michael, so great to be with you. Shon, awesome to have you on the show.
Pleasure.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.